Click go live.
All right,
I
and we're
guess
live.
we're live. Yeah, this is
Yeah,
it. We're welcome back, Professor Andrew,
yeah.
to the Rep Freedom Force channel. We're going to change that though. It's going to be free
Be
Hollywood
free.
for
Well, the
real
little
from now
icon
on.
up at the top of the screen here says Free Hollywood Live.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I did title it that. So I guess that's yeah, and then the subtitle Pop Goes the Culture War.
Yes.
I mean, I just thought that sounded cool, but we're not just talking pop culture war stuff. We're talking political commentary.
Oh, even
And
though I did watch all of the Mandalorian
you
yesterday.
did.
Yeah.
Ah, yes. I didn't think I would be able to talk about it really.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got through every episode so far.
So you're all caught up on episode 5 is where we're
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. All
Nice.
all up through episode 5.
I've got to say, this Mandalorian show is kind of breaking the fandom right now. Um, I mean,
Well, it's
the
breaking the internet in general. Like everybody, Baby Yoda is the biggest meme in the world right now. It's
yes.
Baby Yoda's eclipsed, woman melting down at cat. That was previously the biggest meme in the world, but Baby Yoda has pushed the woman having a meltdown at the cat to the side.
I'm not sure that I saw that one. What was that? What was that?
That's the blonde woman like screaming at a white cat who's like laughing at her.
Can you pull it up on your laptop? I'll see if we can
Yeah.
show that. It's something. So this is the very first time, if anyone's tuned in listening right now. Let me switch over to the chat so I can see. Yeah, this is a dry run, very first live broadcast that we've ever done. And so we're going to be troubleshooting and figuring this out as we go. Hopefully that's not too boring to listen to if you join us. Oh, also, Andrew, your avatar. You should give yourself an avatar. Right now, you're just a bouncing single titty.
Yeah. That's not good because that implies the presence of man boobs or something. Yeah, that's what we're trying to avoid here in our era of what is it Roger's talking about? What's like the plastics and like all this shit that kills
Yes.
testosterone?
Yes,
Yeah, so we're trying to avoid man boobs.
this is a little bit of a preview to the topic Roger's going to bring to the table if he ever joins us in a little while. If
Yeah.
Mr. Justice decides to join us, he wants to speak on the topic of low testosterone versus high testosterone and all of that. I'm not as well versed on it as he is, but it's something I'm learning about because it does affect our health, and I realize that perhaps it's affecting my health as well.
Yeah.
So I've definitely been changing up my diet over the last several weeks.
Yeah, I remember back in the day you doing a juice cleanse for at least once that like you did for like a week.
Well, it was like 21 days. I
Okay.
remember that. Yeah.
And then I remember like the day you finished it, like we had some big ass pizza or something, and so that was kind of
Yeah.
one
Well, if you
extreme.
notice my avatar, the anarchist Jesus avatar,
Yeah.
I was following the Lord's example by doing the 21-day fast,
Oh, okay.
basically. But it was a juice cleanse, so it wasn't a full fast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
it
should my
was
avatar be? Like, I can be very indecisive, so I don't even know what my avatar needs to be.
something with professor and some humor in it.
Hmm.
How about hmm? How
Darth
about it?
Emo? How about Darth Emo? Since I'm rooting for the dark side nowadays.
Sounds good. I was about to suggest maybe finding an old hag image since you like using Hagbard all these years as your name,
Yeah,
your
but
avatar.
that's a Illuminatus reference, and yeah, nobody's gonna get that unless they actually know Illuminatus.
You mean the Robert Anton Williams
Wilson.
trilogy?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the Robert Anton Wilson trilogy. Raw, Mr. Raw himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, it's been a lot of years since we've talked about Raw. But yes, Hagbard, the worst name ever, but in the most entertaining conspiracy trilogy ever.
Yeah.
You know, that's our official name, according to YouTube, is the Illuminatus Society.
Okay.
We are the Illuminatus Society.
That was another site that Roger was trying to create, but somewhere along the way it never really happened.
Kind of fell off.
He had like the basic of it set up, I think, but
yeah, it's really tricky, when you set up these websites. If a few years go by and you're just paying for the domain and for the hosting, and you're counting the dollars over the years, you're thinking, oh man, is it worth it to continue? Oh, my spider friend is back. Sorry, I have a spider crawling across the wall right here. I think it's the same spider I saved last night.
Surprised he's back.
Still looking for a home, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like one of those daddy long legs, so I'm not too worried about it.
Oh yeah, those are good. They'll
he just crawled down below my desk.
They'll eat mosquitoes and all sorts of crap for you.
Yeah, and it was so cold, I decided not to put him outside. I just threw him under my desk. Oh, look who's here. Hang on a second. Bang. Welcome, Roger.
Hey.
Sorry. Oh, Roger's here now too. Okay, excellent.
Well, actually, it's Justice. I'm not sure if we're trying to dox anybody tonight. So.
Oh, and Roger or Justice, actually. Well, I should change my screen name then. We're seeing like an actual Justice here, not.
Yeah, I don't think he hears us yet.
Not a single titty or an anarchist Jesus.
We're getting an actual video stream of Justice in action. What's up?
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Ah, we can hear you too.
And we can see you. You're not just a man boob or Jesus with a gun.
Andrew is the lone bouncing booby.
The lone bouncing booby?
His avatar.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. That's funny.
Yeah, you can do live video or you can add an avatar image. It's up to you. You add the avatar image by, let's see, hovering over, I guess the three dots. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, anyway, we can figure that out later. It seemed pretty easy to me, though. Yeah, just find where it says edit avatar, and then you can find your avatar and add it. Yeah. So Andrew has caught up on the Mandalorian.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, episode 5 all the way. How about you?
I haven't watched any of them.
Haven't watched it yet.
Disney Plus.
That's cool. No spoilers. Everyone knows that there's a baby Yoda, though, so that's not really considered a spoiler anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one spoiler that has to be given because it was already given by the internet.
Right, but I mean, nobody really knows if it's actually like a clone or anything of Yoda.
Right. That's the mystery right now. That's what kind of keeps you coming back, not just for the cuteness overload, but to find this out.
My understanding in the back of my mind had always been that Yoda was supposed to be the last of his species, but then Hybar reminded me that there's like some other creature from a species like just off to the side in one of the prequels. But
yeah, it was a female Yoda species, whatever the species is, and I believe she was sitting in the High Council with the Jedi at one point. A really strange looking puppet that you only saw one time, and that's the only other one besides Yoda that has ever been seen as far as visually. I don't know about in the EU or the comics, or if there was any other of his species ever.
Yeah.
But the thing about Baby Yoda is it is breaking the fandom menace, is tearing it apart. So the Star Wars fan base was already ripped in half by Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. You know, he came out with that movie, and before the movie was ever made, there's a video of him where he says, just speaking in general, his philosophy of filmmaking, that he likes to create stories that divide the audience. He likes to create stories where half the audience leaves loving it and the other half leaves like hating his guts for making it. And that's what happened with The Last Jedi. Those of us that were raised on the original trilogy, looked up to Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia as heroes of ours, have had to endure these last two movies, watching our heroes be deconstructed and made fools of, basically, except for Leia. They haven't done much with her, and unfortunately Carrie Fisher passed away before they had a chance to do the great things they were intending to do with that character. I think they were saving that for episode 9, but she checked out after episode 8. It was like, sorry guys, I'm out. That's enough. So yeah, it's quite a mess as far as the Disney trilogy and how that's turned out. But Baby Yoda popped up on the scene in Mandalorian, and holy crap, that is just the cutest thing I've ever seen. Oh, we lost Andrew. He'll be back. And yeah, the fan base has been. So here's what happened. So 50% of the fan base hated The Last Jedi. It was probably way more than 50%, to be honest. But let's just say it was 50%. Now that 50%, which split off and became the fandom menace, are now being divided and splintered into smaller factions because of Baby Yoda, and now because of the Rise of the Resistance attraction that just opened over in Florida. This stuff is decent Star Wars, but I can't say it's undisputed decent Star Wars because the fandom is arguing with one another right now to the merits of The Mandalorian and the merits of Rise of the Resistance. The most virtue-signally name of an attraction ever, but from what I've seen and from what I'm hearing, people that have gone through the attraction say that Rise of the Resistance was their coming to Jesus moment for theme park attractions. Like, it's the best ride they've ever ridden. Like, it's blowing people's minds. And
what's the ride called? I forget.
What was that?
What's the ride called?
Rise of the Resistance. It was the second ride in Galaxy's Edge that to this point had not been opened, been delayed for technical difficulties. So they opened the park. Well, they opened the park with the one ride, the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride, and it did not get great reviews. Andrew and I had a chance to go ride it last month, and I mean, Star Tours is better, just genuinely visually better. Oh, Darth Yoda is back. Here, let me add him to the stream. Nice. Welcome, Darth Yoda. Perfect. Perfect. So I was saying that Darth Yoda and I got a chance to ride the Smuggler's Run ride last month.
Yes.
And we followed it up by walking across the park. We were at Disneyland, and we walked across the park and rode Star Tours directly afterwards. And I got to say, visually and the experience-wise, Star Tours was the better Star Wars ride to me. Smuggler's Run is cool. I mean, you get to go inside the Millennium Falcon, but the actual visuals are much more like a video game than the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, and it's difficult to pay attention to the actual visuals on Smuggler's Run because, you know, as part of your character, you're supposed to be kind of turned off to the side, hitting all these buttons and stuff. And so when you're doing that, you're looking off to the side, and you're now looking ahead to the screen. So the layout of the ride is not that great in that regard.
Right. And I found the first time, I've ridden it twice. I did it once, like the month before you and I got a chance to ride it together. And that time I was an engineer, I think. No, I was a gunner, and I chose manual, and the buttons were so stiff, my forearms were literally sore from like tapping on those buttons for the entire ride, and I barely got to see anything that was going on visually because I was just so focused on those buttons. Yeah. So the second time I rode it, I tried to focus more on the visuals happening up front. I chose automatic instead of manual. And we were engineers, which was a lot easier than being a gunner, I think. Less buttons to press. So I got to really tune in on the visuals this time. And having that back-to-back experience with Star Tours, I was like, Star Tours looks like the movies we grew up with. Like the visuals in there, the special effects, and the way the lasers travel across the screen looks exactly like Star Wars, whereas Smuggler's Run looks like a video game version of Star Wars, where things are just way too bright, just way too CGI-ish. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a realism to Star Tours that I think Smuggler's Run lacked. But what I've heard from people who grew up in Southern California and been going to Disneyland a lot longer than me is that kind of the version of Star Tours that, we're seeing now is not... Star Tours used to be a lot more, I don't know, like cheesy looking.
Right. They have added to it quite a bit.
Yeah. So maybe there's room for Smuggler's Run to grow too.
Yeah, into the Aladdin magic carpet ride.
So I was going to say, unless a year from now, Episode 9 has bombed, nobody's signing up for Disney Plus and to watch The Mandalorian, and they say, forget this, we're going with Aladdin Land.
Yeah, that's the thing. Baby Yoda.
The thing that you keep saying is clearly.
Oh man, I just cannot stop seeing it everywhere I look when I walk through Galaxy's Edge. I'm looking around and saying to myself, this could be so easily turned into Aladdin Land. Like, in your mind, if you just remove the props, add a layer of stucco over the top, and then throw in some Middle Eastern garb, dress it up, and have some Middle Eastern music playing, you have Aladdin Land.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. And the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride is the queue to the ride is somewhat of a cave entrance, and you're walking through, and there's nothing really too Star Warsy about that entrance. We did, when you and I did it, we did the solo ride, so you didn't get a chance to really see all that.
Yeah.
But when you're going through in the regular line, it's just a giant long cave. So I started to think, well, if you ripped out that Millennium Falcon prop and threw in a jaguar head, you have the Cave of Wonders right there. It was, and it would be basically that easy. They would have to change the facade inside of the Millennium Falcon, make it more like the Cave of Wonders, but then you have yourself a magic carpet ride simulation.
So
we've been working on that for years.
From Galaxy's Edge to Cultural Appropriation's Edge.
Yes. Oh man, even the music in there. I mean, there's no John Williams Star Wars music playing whatsoever. It's all this kind of Middle Eastern sounding Star Wars-ish music, but it's already very Middle Eastern sounding to my ear. So like, it doesn't help the situation as I'm walking through trying to, be immersed in Star Wars, but all I can see is Aladdin Land in the future. But they've opened Rise of the Resistance now over in Florida.
So that's actually open in Florida. When's it open in California, and when are we going?
Right. In February, they say, for California. Yeah, February 5th, I think.
Yeah. So what are people thinking about it in Orlando right now?
Well, everyone that has ridden the ride says it's their come to Jesus moment for theme park attractions. Like, this is the best ride they've ever ridden, and they're saying it's better than some are saying it's even better than the Avatar ride, which I haven't personally experienced, but I hear Flight of Passage has been like kind of the standard for Disney theme park rides, and there's people reporting this is even better than that to them.
Is that only in Florida? The Avatar ride?
Yeah, it's only in Florida for now, but they do have it in California as well. It's just not opened yet.
Okay.
It's like a highly sophisticated ride system. I'll try to describe it to you a little bit. I mean, to be honest, I've been kind of addicted to watching POV ride throughs of the ride from different perspectives and different cameras and things, just trying to get a real feel for what it's like. And it's pretty amazing. From the moment you enter the ride queue, you've basically entered the ride. The ride begins the moment you get in the line. And so unlike other Disney rides where you're in line and then you eventually get to load up onto the ride vehicle and then you get to experience the ride it begins as soon as you walk in. So
even more so than, say, how Star Tours is right now, where you walk on and you're already sort of interacting with C-3PO is there, and but you're not really feeling like you're fully on the ride. You're just in a line, albeit C-3PO
that's
talking to you.
That's a really good point. Yeah, it's like that, but just way more. It's a story begins. So you walk into the ride queue and you begin seeing elements that you haven't seen in Galaxy's Edge before, because that's all been closed, which is kind of cool. And then the riders enter an area. Maybe I should try to pull this up. Maybe I should try to pull one of these up. Hang on a second. Yeah, there's like a whole story where, okay, here I'm trying to remember it. I need to pull this up. Rise of the Resistance. There it is. So basically you enter into this area much like what you were saying, the Star Tours ride, where you have droids and things that are interacting with you. You get in there and there's a BB-8 that's rolling around and interacting with you, and there's some stuff going on the video screens. And then a hologram of Rey appears.
Okay.
And I just gotta say right up front, it's all Disney trilogy.
So it's all geared
Disney
towards the current trilogy.
It's all Disney trilogy. So this is one of the reasons why Baby Yoda and Rise of the Resistance is breaking the fandominum right now. Breaking the fandominum further into smaller factions, because people like me, I really love Baby Yoda and the Mandalorian. I'm really getting into that show.
Yeah.
But you have some of the fandom menace YouTubers falling off here at episode 5.
So what are people not liking about the Mandalorian?
Right. So the criticisms I'm hearing basically that too many member berries, too many references to the old Star Wars and things, which is interesting to me, because one of our big complaints as the Fandom Menace has been a real lack of references to the original trilogy.
Really?
And
I mean, as you know, one of my biggest problems with the new trilogy was that it just seemed like a remake, especially The Force Awakens, where it's just, well, we have the Death Star again, but it's bigger. And it blows up entire solar systems now, or whatever it was capable of doing.
You were onto it before me. You were really onto it way before I was.
Like the Mandalorian doesn't feel like that. Sure, you've got a baby Yoda, but it's set however many years, 5 years after Return of the Jedi. But that's just the continuity of it. It doesn't feel like it's just a remake the way The Force Awakens felt like a remake in many parts.
I absolutely agree. I think it's a terrific point you're making. I was blinded by The Force Awakens. I wanted to love it. I forced myself to love it, even though there were things in the movie, the whole "don't hold my hand," and all of that stuff. The way they killed off Han Solo. There were so many clues as to what they were doing that I just refused to really look at, because I wanted to love it so badly. And
I think most people did.
I was one of those fanboys that whenever Han Solo appeared in the trailer and said, "Chewie, we're home," I was like, really, really excited to see that. I'm like, yes, we're back. I mean, I wasn't crying. I mean, there's videos of people crying when they saw that kind of thing. I remember it was Christian Harloff and Mark Ellis on the Collider show back when Star Wars was purchased by Disney, and they showed that trailer, and those guys went live and were crying. And, I mean, I was a big follower of Collider back then, and I was feeling it too. Not to that level, but yeah, man, The Last Jedi ripped the curtain back, and I got to see how the Emperor has no clothes, that what Disney's doing with Star Wars is a disaster. And,
so with The Mandalorian, has the Emperor at least put some underwear on?
I think for a lot of us it has, and this is where the problem comes in, because for a lot of fandom menace fans of Star Wars, they've been so jaded, so hurt by the way Disney has handled themselves, the way the director of the movie came out and called basically anyone that didn't like his movie basement dwelling.
Right, toxic fandom. Yeah.
Toxic males, racists and misogynists, and all the typical things you hear these days for anyone that disagrees. And so a lot of the fans were so hurt that even though now it seems that cooler heads are beginning to step in and take over leadership, they're giving us The Mandalorian, they're giving us Rise of the Resistance. There's a lot of fans that are just way too hurt to accept any of it at this point, even if it's great. And here's the thing, the stuff may not be great. I don't know, but it feels great because what they've been giving us is so bad.
Yeah.
That this feels great.
So I watched The Mandalorian, and I'm not like, oh my God, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But it's just fun, and it's Star Wars.
Absolutely. And this last episode was they went back to Tatooine in episode 5. I'm not really giving spoilers or anything here, but it was really awesome to see the old cantina and the irony of having a droid being the bartender, whereas in A New Hope, the bartender was like, "We don't serve their kind. You're droids."
Yeah.
And I thought little things like that were really fun to see again, things that I never thought I would ever get to see again in modern canon. And so I was really excited about that. But then after having seen episode 5 of The Mandalorian, I watched a few Fandom Menace YouTubers review it and basically said this is the worst episode yet of The Mandalorian, and that they're basically falling off at this point. And I'm like,
well, even if so, it's not a horrible episode.
I didn't get that.
I'm sitting watching The Mandalorian and thinking this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, but I'm not picking it apart and necessarily hating on it either. It's interesting to see Tatooine a few years after the fall of the Empire, and you still have these stormtrooper heads up on spikes as like a statement of, this system has been overthrown now.
Yeah, that was so cool. Mm-hmm.
What was so bad about episode 5?
Well, I heard some others saying that it's too much like a cartoon. Like Dave Filoni, who wrote and directed that episode 5, he was the showrunner on Clone Wars, the animated Star Wars show, back before Disney purchased it. And I've heard some people criticize that this plays too much like an animated show. It's not long enough. It's like 30 minutes, like an animated show would be.
Right.
The beats play out like animation. This is like live action animation. So that was another big criticism. But I don't really think that criticism is enough to cause me to not like the show. I like animation. I've always looked at my sci-fi kind of in a similar frame of mind as I look at my animation. No big deal.
Yeah, I've never seen any of the Star Wars animations. I never saw Clone Wars, or what's the other one, The Rebels or something?
Yeah, that's right, Rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw some of it, some of both. I haven't been able to make it through all of it yet. I will eventually. because that's all we basically have left to watch from George Lucas.
Yeah.
The stuff George Lucas made that I haven't seen, that's basically it. So I'll definitely be watching that stuff. Not that he was personally making it, but he was very involved in the entire process, approving stories, looking over story beats, working with Dave Filoni, mentoring him to become, basically the person that he seems to be becoming right now in the company. Unfortunately, they didn't put Dave Filoni in a more leadership position earlier on. But they're doing it now. They've brought in Kevin Feige for feature films. They have John, what's his name? John, the Iron Man director, John Favreau. John Favreau. He's directed some of the episodes. And so the team is John Favreau and Dave Filoni on The Mandalorian.
We're about to lose justice here.
Are we? We losing justice?
Yeah, I got to head out.
All right, man.
All right.
Hey.
Nice chatting. We'll do this again soon.
Yeah, let's do it again soon. Let's do it regular.
Yes.
Regular. All right. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Good night, Roger.
All right.
Oops, I just doxed him again.
All right.
Well, we got to get better at that.
Himself by having his camera turned on. As opposed to
True. No disguise.
Yoda and Hybar.
I did go live once where I tried to disguise myself, but I'm not so sure it worked. I had a beard. I had my Jesus beard grown out. I had sunglasses and a hat. Anyway. But yeah. So yeah, the fandom is really divided right now. The Fandom Menace. Oh, there was a show that was kind of the uniting show for fandom that calls themselves Fandom Menace. It was the show was on Tuesday nights. It was called the High Council, or Submit to the High Council. And that show in the last 2 months has kind of disappeared, though it's still there. But it's all new people. Like they've tried to transition it over to being all new hosts. Like,
wait, so they're a Fandom Menace show?
Yeah, it was the top guys. It was World Class Bullshitters.
Okay.
Jeff Hicks, who brought in Ethan Van Sciver, otherwise known as EVS. He's the comic artist pro from DC, who is now a YouTuber.
Got it.
And then the other one was Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, which is, I guess, the most subscribed to channel among all of those guys.
Yeah.
And so the three of them were basically the hosts of the weekly show, kind of like what we're doing right now, except the topic was Fandom Menace and shitting on Star Wars all day, every day.
Yeah.
And that was...
Well, that's about 90% of what we've done in this initial thing.
Surprisingly.
Although, except we haven't been shitting on it. I think
not shitting on it. Yeah, that's true.
We both like The Mandalorian, it sounds
true.
like.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the guys that I just mentioned, they're not digging it. And they've also dropped out of the High Council. They're not live streaming that anymore. They've passed it off to kind of Fandom Menace B team. I mean, I did listen to a little bit of it last Tuesday, and I fell asleep. And I don't think it's going to be getting the views like it was before, and maybe it'll die. And that's just kind of strange because we're 18 days away from the last Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
The dumpster fire. What is it?
Yeah, the last one. There's nothing planned now. This Mandalorian show, that was supposed to be the next of the kind of B movies.
I think it is.
After Rogue One, after Solo, there was supposed to be Boba Fett, and I guess Boba Fett was scrapped, and now it's the Mandalorian basically instead.
That's right. That is right. And actually, I'm glad that they're doing this. Of course, I prefer trilogies, movies, but not what they've been doing. Just stop already. Just stop. So if they quit making the movies and they focus on the television stuff for a little while, I think that the Star Wars can pull out of the nosedive, because right now it's on a downtrend that ends in total. Well, how does it end? It ends with Star Wars dying, basically, as a pop culture phenomenon. It'll become irrelevant, and no one will care.
Yeah.
And in a few years, we'll have Aladdin Land.
Even if there was no, like, kind of, valid critique of the current trilogy, it's not like the current trilogy is like capturing people the way the original did. It's not become this pop culture institution. Like, I don't know if anybody, how long has it been? It's been already 20 years, or almost 20 years. It's been 20 years since the prequels began. 20 years after this trilogy, I mean, are people going to just roughly have the same kind of dismissive opinion that people have about the prequels now? I don't know.
Wow. Well, 20 years from now, won't we have already undergone the technological singularity? Perhaps at that point, these issues won't be as important to us anymore.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, these things are very important to us. Star Wars kind of saved me. I mean, as having a bit of a rough childhood and getting moved all around the world in the Air Force, I had this galaxy far away that I could escape to at any time. I won a drawing contest when I was a kid, and it was the Air Force magazine drawing contest where the art had to depict alien species of some kind, and I made like a 3-headed alien shooting lasers from his eyes on an asteroid or something like that. And I won the contest, and the grand prize was an audio cassette tape of the Star Wars radio play. And I was 7 years old. I had seen Star Wars when I was 6, and then we moved to Portugal. Mom married my stepdad and moved to Portugal right away. I had seen Star Wars, but I was a little too young. I was just a little too young to fully comprehend the story.
Get it. Yeah,
I didn't quite get it. I was just really infatuated with lightsabers and lasers and hyper speed and all that. And when I got to listen to the cassette again and again, finally the story really sunk in, and I became a huge fan of Luke Skywalker. Was my hero growing up, and all the time just with your friends speculating about the stories, playing with the action figures, just living in a world where none of the pain and the humiliation of the day-to-day exists. And it was such a great way to grow up. Yeah, I mean, it was a great survival mechanism,
Yeah, and a healthy one too.
Was for me. It made me to eventually become, move to Hollywood, get involved in film, and be an animator.
Yeah. I mean, that's the power that this stuff can have.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that's part of why there's been such a irritation among the fan base.
Yeah, and but here's the thing. I can get over The Last Jedi. I really can. I didn't think I could, but after seeing Baby Yoda, I think I can.
Yeah.
I don't know. He kind of melted my heart, and I think Jon Favreau knew. He had a good suspicion that this would have a positive effect on the fan base. I think
they kept that under wraps nicely.
Yeah,
there was nobody leaked out like, oh, hey, there's going to be Baby Yoda on this. It just sort of, you get to the end of the first episode, and obviously I was watching them, weeks after the fact now here, but you get to the end of the first episode, and like, boom, oh wow, it's Baby Yoda.
Yes. That blew me away, and even my wife became an instantly addicted to the show. Like, she cannot wait for the next episode of The Mandalorian. She's asking me for it.
Yeah.
Like before I'm even thinking, oh, is there another episode? And here I'm supposed to be the big Star Wars fan.
Yeah.
She didn't care whatsoever. She doesn't care anything about the new ones either. But she loves The Mandalorian, boy. So I cannot get rid of Disney Plus, even if I wanted to.
Yeah.
At this point. And here's the thing. There's been rumors that maybe they've kept some other things under wraps, just as well as they've kept this Baby Yoda secret under wraps. And that secret could be a bodily resurrection of Luke Skywalker in Episode 9. Now, what's the chance of that? Pretty low, as far as I'm concerned. It seems to me, just from watching Mark Hamill's face in interviews, and every time he speaks of Star Wars these days, it does not seem as though there's anything positive to look forward to in regards to Luke Skywalker's character.
Yes. Whatever spoiler leaks have been out there have implied Force ghosts, not...
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the leaks, they're pretty wild. They're pretty wild, but and they seem like they may be true. But I'm just going to speculate for a moment. And let's say there's some things we haven't heard, like some sort of physical resurrection of Luke Skywalker. I think I can begin to forgive what they did. And that, coupled with the Mandalorian show and the Rise of the Resistance ride, which looks to be a mind-blowing experience, regardless that it's the Disney trilogy.
Yeah.
It's just a Star Wars experience. And I'll get back to that as far as what the ride has to show. But I think I can get over The Last Jedi and the first one and kind of forgive and be willing to move forward with things. But I tell you, if you remove the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda from this situation, I don't think that there's ever any coming back from this.
Now, see, Baby Yoda, the fact that Baby Yoda is a meme now, the fact that Baby Yoda has eclipsed all other memes, woman yelling at cat is no longer #1 meme in the world. Right now it's Baby Yoda. Okay? Nothing from The Force Awakens or The Last Jedi went viral like this. Baby Yoda has broken the internet in a way that the new movie trilogy did not. The new movie trilogy, Force Awakens, comes out and people are like, yay, Star Wars is back. Okay. That's that. Baby Yoda, people are posting Baby Yoda memes who, otherwise probably, are not really big Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
I
can totally see that
thing. And that's just whoever came up with this, that was brilliant. Because it's nostalgia without hitting you over the head with the nostalgia in kind of a fan wank way that The Force Awakens did.
I can say the whole of The Mandalorian feels that way to me.
Yeah.
Sure, there's nostalgia. Sure, there's member berries. Does it upset me at all? No, not at all. I'm happy to revisit Tatooine. I'm happy to be hanging out with a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I'm happy to see some dewbacks once again.
Yeah.
Like all the prequel trilogy droids in this episode 5. Even that. Like there was a time where, I didn't really care to see much from the prequel trilogies either. Yeah. But now, in light of the sequel trilogies, the Disney trilogy, I'm happy to give me some of that prequel. I want me some prequel.
Yeah.
The first thing I did after watching episode 1 of The Mandalorian, after subscribing to Disney Plus, was I went back and watched Revenge of the Sith.
Which is the best of the prequels, definitely.
Yeah, it was good and it held up. It held up to me. Yeah. Watching it again. In fact, it was a little better because I was in a different frame of mind back then.
Yeah.
And I don't recall. Was there even one scene with Jar Jar Binks in that one? I can't remember.
No, that's definitely one I would have to go back and rewatch. Yeah, I think it's the most Jar Jar free of all of the prequels.
And this Disney trilogy is like one giant Jar Jar to me. That's the way it feels. Like the feeling I had about Jar Jar in the prequels is the feeling I have for the Disney trilogy in general. Like, I feel like they've treated the audience as idiots, and followed it up with Rian Johnson trolling the audience, and then him and the producers laughing about it behind the scenes, is what it feels like to me. Like, they're laughing at our expense. You know, when Luke Skywalker is given his father's lightsaber, which the last time he saw it was when his hand was taken by his father.
Mm-hmm.
You would think that would mean something. You know, this is the object that introduced him to the Force.
Well,
you know,
that's an important connection. I didn't even think of that one.
He first felt the Force when he was using that lightsaber.
Yeah.
And Rey gives it to him. And it's also a symbol of his power and his masculinity and all that too. I mean, you could take it to mean a lot of things. And he just flippantly tosses it off the cliffside over his shoulder. I mean, when that happened, you know, I kind of laughed just as a physical response to an awkwardness. You know what I mean? Like, I laughed, but not because it was funny, but because it was awkward and strange. And but I kind of felt guilty about laughing at that later, because it wasn't funny to me. And I'm like, why did I laugh at that? Because it was awkward and embarrassing and humiliating and all those things. And laughter is a response to some of those things. But what I really felt when I saw it was the elbow of Rian Johnson in my ribs, and his snarky laughing voice going, bet you didn't see that coming.
Yeah. See, I know we've had some degree of disagreement about The Last Jedi, in the sense that I appreciated The Last Jedi trying to advance a new storyline in the way that The Force Awakens didn't. The Force Awakens just seemed like a, you know, kind of B-list ripoff in many ways of, you know, A New Hope. But
yeah,
I can see some of the attempts to move the storyline forward in The Last Jedi just becoming very forced. No pun intended. Yeah, it's like, okay, we'll swerve the audience by he throws a lightsaber off the cliff. Like, okay, I get it, but it's a little forced.
Yeah, man. I felt that, you know, and there was other things too, like, and I'm just going to kind of stick to Luke Skywalker, because I could go on and on for hours about the movie, but and so many people have, so I don't need to. But just focusing on Luke Skywalker, what they did was they showed in the movie, they gave you a day in the life of Luke Skywalker living on the island kind of thing, right?
Right.
So during that, of course, there's the humiliated scene of him milking the sea camel, the mer camel, as EVS says Mark Hamill milking a mer camel.
Yeah.
The mer camel milking the mer camel. So this is another one of those things the producers behind the scenes are all laughing at us about. But that's not the thing I want to point out here. It's one that I haven't heard anyone point out yet. And there was a moment where Luke Skywalker looks down in the water, and what did we see? We saw the X-Wing from, well, it was his X-Wing from A New Hope that he carried with him through The Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, and still had that X-Wing with him to this day. He just had it, you know, submerged in the water.
Oh, yeah.
So that was a setup. That was setting something up. Now, let me ask you, what was the payoff to that?
Oh, God, I don't even know without rewatching the thing.
There was no payoff.
Yeah, that's probably why
there was no payoff. They showed us that for no reason. They showed us that to make us think that there would be a payoff. The subversion of the expectation is that there was no payoff. See, we thought when they showed us the X-Wing that at some point he would probably raise the X-Wing out of the water, the thing that he couldn't do when he was a lesser Jedi.
Right.
You know, the thing that he struggled so hard and never could do. We thought that maybe we would get to see him do that, and maybe he would use the X-Wing to join the fight, you know, to get off the island and join the fight. But they just showed us stuff like that to set things up to make you think that they were going to do good things, and then they just didn't. And then it happened again when they had force projection Luke joining the battle. We think, okay, well, maybe he did raise the X-Wing.
Yeah.
Maybe he did get in it. Maybe he did fly over here.
Right, but no, he's still on the island the whole time.
And we're thinking, well, maybe he also had time to give himself a bit of a haircut because his look has changed.
Yeah.
So, like, at the point, we're not thinking this is a force projection. We're thinking, I guess they paid it off. Luke must have lifted the X-Wing. They just didn't show it to us. It was off camera. Maybe later they'll show us the X-Wing and it'll all make sense. But no. What they did was showed us Luke Skywalker battle Kylo Ren, and instead of giving us any payoff, they pretend like they kill Luke. Kylo takes a charge at Luke and he swipes at him and it goes through him. And we see it cuts to this red. It was the salt being pushed by Kylo's boot as he slid to a stop, leaving a red streak in the sand. And that was to represent like the bloody strike that they're not literally going to show in a PG-13 movie of him like slicing Luke Skywalker in half. And so at that point, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, okay, this is how Luke goes out. They killed him. But then the camera whips around and Luke's still standing there, right?
Right.
He's not chopped in half. He's not dead. Wow. They're going to let him live? And then they poke through him and he says, see you around, kid, and disappears. Oh, go ahead. You were saying?
Yeah. See, I know we disagree about kind of the actual end of Luke. And don't get me wrong, when I saw Luke fade away, I was like, oh, damn, like a bit of my childhood just died. Like most people, who grew up with the original trilogy. But, it felt to me more like the end of Yoda, where it's just like, okay, it's my time. I fade away, and now I'm a Force ghost. What felt more forced to me was Han Solo's death in The Force Awakens, where Darth Emo says, Dad, you never listened to my feelings. You just told me to go mow the lawn, and kills him. That felt cheesier than Luke just fading away when it was his time, like Yoda did.
I'll give you that was cheesier. But the thing that upset me about the way they did it with Luke was that they pretended they killed him, and then they let you think they didn't kill him, and then they cut to a scene where he dies anyway.
So it's just that try too hard swerving of the audience again.
It's like we're not only going to subvert your expectation, we're going to set up new expectations and then subvert them too.
Yeah.
We're going to subvert everything you knew. We're going to subvert everything you hoped for. And then, to top it all off, we're going to set things up in our movies and subvert that too. And that pissed me off.
So how much of that are we going to get in episode 9?
I don't think we're going to get any of that in episode 9. I don't think they can. I don't think we're going to get any of that subverting of expectations, unless the one thing, and that is if they were to bring Luke back in bodily form. Right. That would be a subversion of our expectations, because we would never have expected that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, but he would have to be a clone or something at this point, the way some people speculate Baby Yoda being a clone, because we've never seen a Force ghost come back in bodily form again, right?
That's right. But there was a script, the original Return of the Jedi script. It was Revenge of the Jedi at first, and in the original George Lucas treatment, at the end of the movie, there was the scene when Vader and Luke were in their confrontation, and the Emperor begins to kill Luke. In the original story treatment, Obi-Wan stepped out of the shadows in bodily form
Okay.
and defended Luke. They scrapped that story idea, but the fact that George Lucas himself had that in mind as a story point that could have been means that it's a story point that could be.
Right. So there
Um,
is some potentially based on that some way for a Force ghost to take bodily form.
yeah, that as Obi-Wan and Yoda, as we saw them transfigure themselves, passing over into the Force realm, perhaps under certain circumstances, that is a thing that also could be reversed. If it meant that much to the state of the galaxy, perhaps a Force ghost could step back into their bodily form for a limited time. So, I mean, it's a stretch. I doubt it will happen.
Yeah.
But if they did, that would be a subversion of my expectation that I could totally live with.
But in a positive way, in a way that that you would like.
Yeah, it would help. It would help me to get over The Last Jedi for sure.
Yeah.
It would. That coupled with Baby Yoda and the Rise attraction, I think I could really get over it and look forward to new things. What I'm wondering about right now is what's going to happen to Disney Plus once The Mandalorian episode 8 is over. I believe there's only 8 episodes.
Well, I believe they've already ordered a season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah, but that'll be a while. Now they haven't.
Obviously, would take like a year or whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, as much as I love Disney content and movies from the past and things, I don't really need to pay for Disney Plus every month to have access to that. If I want access again, I'll pay for it when I want access again.
Right. I mean, I at least have the year for free of it because I have Verizon. So, just have it for a year in case for whatever I feel like seeing on there, I guess.
I'm Sprint. I thought about changing over because of that, but no, I'm too lazy. Yeah. So I did the 7-day free Disney Plus, and my wife loved The Mandalorian, so I've just kept it going ever since. And I don't think I would have canceled it even if she didn't like it because I like it so much. But after episode 8, what's going to keep me around? I know they're working on an Obi-Wan series. And, I'm pretty excited about that because they could probably reuse some of these Tatooine sets they're using in Mandalorian for the Obi-Wan show.
I mean, I guess for Disney Plus, looks like they do have a lot of the Marvel movies on there, and then obviously some, just other different Disney content and Pixar content too.
Dude, so much content. They have every episode of The Simpsons on there now.
Oh, they do? Wow. Okay.
Wow. 20-something years of that. Was it 30 years now? Yeah. So they have loads of content ever since they bought Fox.
Yeah.
I mean, and Disney paid like $71 billion? Where's my phone? How much did Disney pay for Fox?
Here's Walt Disney and Fox.
Yeah, she didn't give me the easy answer, but it was an enormous amount of money. It was like they paid $4 billion for Star Wars, and they paid something like $70 billion for Fox. And I was just, when they did that, I was so sure like Disney's going down. They spent way too much money on that. They're not going to be profitable on Star Wars, which they're in the process of destroying. And now they've got the theme parks even wrapped up into Star Wars. How much is this company going to suffer for what they've done? And so I've been looking for an opportunity to short, but the stock price just keeps going up and up. I mean, there's up and downs, of course, but overall it's uptrending. It's like 100.
That might be Baby Yoda.
Well, no, this started way before that. It really started when the rumors about the Fox deal began to swirl around.
Oh, okay. So
for the first time ever, we saw the stock price get back to all-time highs, which I think was like $120 or $130 at that time. And they blasted past that and got
What's
up.
It at now?
They got up to almost $160, and now it's settled back. It's like $145 or so, something like that. And I'm kind of watching and waiting for an opportunity to short. but I'm not sure that I'm really going to take that trade because it's so risky to short. But boy, I would feel so good if I could short Disney and make money off that.
Now that's what would make up for The Last Jedi for you. You can by shorting them.
Oh, that would do so much to heal
Yeah.
what they destroyed of my childhood. It's so funny that people say that, but it's it's true. It's true. It feels that way. Man.
Now, is there some whale out there who feels the same way as you do, who just has a shit ton of Disney stock and has been biding his time to short the fuck out of it?
Yeah. Man, I wish I could say I did know, but I do know someone who has like 10,000 shares of Disney.
Yeah.
And which isn't small, but then again, there's whales much larger than that.
Yeah.
And just listening to how he talks about it. Now, this is a guy that was Fandom Menace adjacent, and his name's Craig, Reviews for You. He has a YouTube channel. It used to be called Reviews for You, but I think he's changed it since then. He's really kind of hard for me to keep up with anymore. But the last video of his that I saw was a live stream where he had revealed that he owns 10,000 shares of Disney stock that he inherited from his father. And so it means a lot to him. It's not something that he's really wanting to sell, even though he's so pissed off at Disney and everything they've been doing.
Yeah.
And I think a large part of that is because it's a dividend paying company that still seems to have room for growth, a highly diversified company that investing in kind of feels a little bit like investing in a mutual fund.
Yeah, it's not
Disney,
like
you're buying
Disney is going away anytime soon. So yeah, like feels like investing in a mutual fund, or even just like buy Coca-Cola stock, or whatever, like your basic.
Right, you buy Coca-Cola, you're buying a drink product company. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a diversity of drinks, but it's a drink product company. Whereas Disney, you buy the Disney shares, you're not only buying an entertainment and a feature film company, you're buying a television studio, a theme park company, a merchandise company, a cruise line. I'm sure I'm missing some things.
Right.
So it's they've diversified into so many different areas, and not all these areas are profitable, but overall as a company
are going to be balanced out by the ones that are.
And that's what it's been to this point. Like the theme parks has been one of the saving graces of the company. When the movies aren't doing so hot, they can always fall back on, well, the theme parks are making a load of money. Yeah.
As long as there are boomers wanting to go on cruises. Always have that too.
Man, I'm sitting here talking about shorting Disney, and I'm talking myself into wanting to buy some more shares. Jeez.
Sounds like it. Yeah, damn.
Yeah. I mean, I had a target price set $88. I was going to load the boat at $88, and after The Last Jedi, the stock price it fell down to about $95, and no lower.
Yeah.
And I thought about picking up some because I had sold all my shares. I had 300 shares of Disney. About a week after seeing The Last Jedi, I sold everything all at once. And it was a big emotional decision, of course. And I knew it was probably a mistake. But the way I was feeling, I just couldn't, in good conscience, hold those shares anymore. So I sold.
But I guess a lot of people sold then after The Last Jedi came out, if there was a bit of a dip there.
Yeah, apparently so, but it didn't last for very long. It didn't stay there for long, and I didn't repurchase my shares again. And I really haven't had a chance to since, because I sold at 107.
Yeah.
And the thought was, well, I probably wouldn't buy them again if it's over 107.
Something, whatever it is now.
I don't think that way anymore. I mean, I would, if I were to get back into it, I would probably buy the dip, even if it doesn't dip down that low again.
So are we going to see another dip after episode 9? But
that's crazy talk. I'm not about to buy Disney. I want to short Disney. If I'm going to buy some stocks, I think Marlboro, Altria is a much better dividend paying company and the shares cost less, so you could load up on them. I think they're like $50 a share right now, and had dipped down to 40. So if I see anything like 45, I think I'm going to load the boat on that one.
Yeah.
Not because I support smoking and vaping and all that as a on a moral level. I just don't think that people are going to stop buying these products anytime soon. So this is for my family and for our future. It's not an emotional decision. It's just based on a rational idea that it'll pay off for many, many years. I think probably maybe even better than Disney. It seems like that's impossible. Disney rules the world right now, but
yeah,
things can change pretty quickly. We'll have to see what happens after Plan 9 from Outer Space hits theaters on December 20th.
Plan 9.
Oh, sorry, Episode 9. Sorry, got it confused there. Yeah. Oh, let me check a couple other features on this live streaming right quick.
Okay.
There was a banner.
So I'm sure nobody's actually watching it, but are we able to see, like, going forward, once we're doing this kind of for real, would we be able to see, like, how many people are actually viewing it?
Yeah, I saw one viewer pop in and out a couple of times. So it might have been the same person or several different people. So I was able to see that. I'm not sure on your end what you're seeing, though.
No, I just see the screen, and now you have a caption on our screen as the fandom minutes becoming divided over competent Star Wars.
Yeah, testing out these
banners. I have the chat on the side, and
in the chat, let's see, any comments? Yeah, no comments. Banners. Well, you mind if I switch the topic just for a moment? Maybe we can, have a different topic to end on, because as much as I'd love to go on about that, there is something going on in the world of politics right now that you may or may not be aware of. Kim Jong-un just had another missile test, and kind of has some people worried about what's going to happen with North Korea.
Right.
It seemed like progress was being made in negotiations between him and the president and things, and it looked like the impossible might actually happen, and there be a demilitarization. No, it's a denuclearization of North Korea.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't seem like that's the case when you hear what's been happening this last week. But I'm kind of thinking that maybe this isn't a bad thing that's happening. Whenever negotiations are going on, people don't usually walk away from the negotiations or do things like this when you're at the beginning of the negotiation. At the beginning, you're trying to create some kind of rapport. And I recall the video of Trump visiting North Korea.
Right.
The rapport him and Kim seemed to have together.
Yeah.
But now
they're back to calling each other hilarious names. I think Trump has gone back to Rocket Man. And Kim Jong-un, one of the most hilarious political nerd things to do is to read English language official North Korean news, and like the kinds of insults, or at least the way the insults are translated there.
Do you have any examples of that from last week?
I was trying to think of what they just called Trump in that. It was like a doddering old fool.
Okay. They weren't talking about Joe Biden?
The official state news. It's the KCNA.
Well, this is way more entertaining for sure. It was getting kind of boring over there.
Yeah.
But I was thinking that maybe, well, here's the thing. During the negotiation, when people walk away, that doesn't mean the negotiation's over. Usually that means they're like kind of in the middle of their negotiation.
Yeah.
Like progress has been made, expectations have been raised, and they're getting to the point where they're starting to seriously think about doing the deal, but then begin to realize, well, maybe the deal's not what we thought it was. Let's check even harder, do our due diligence.
Yeah.
And they find things and and want to renegotiate, and then there's walking away and going away from the table, the name calling, and this is all expected stuff. Like, perhaps this is expected stuff. But I'm wondering if there's anything that we can do, as a country to kind of move this along. And Scott Adams suggested something. I wanted to throw the idea at you and see what you thought. Apparently North Korea believed that America was going to help North Korea to become prosperous, like POTUS said.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't seen anything yet. And they're kind of like, well, if we're not getting the prosperity like they promised, we're going back to our nukes and testing, et cetera, et cetera. What could we do to give them kind of a vote of confidence in the process and the outcome of the process, and know that America's not trying to screw them over, but yet not really giving anything away of value to us? And that's where this banner comes up. And this is what Scott Adams was suggesting this morning. And I just want to see what you think about it. It wouldn't cost America anything to declare peace in North Korea. That war has been not hot, but ongoing for over 50 years now. What would it really mean to America for us to go on ahead and declare peace and withdraw troops from there? Wouldn't that be a sign of confidence that we're serious about this peace process?
It would, because right now I think to North Korean eyes, we definitely seem like, okay, what do the Americans want? Tulsi Gabbard recently brought up that John Bolton, I know John Bolton is out of the administration now, but when he was in the administration, he made some comment like, the North Koreans better watch out. We'll pursue like a Libya solution with them. Okay. And so what was the Libyan solution? Gaddafi decided to come in, sit down and negotiate with the Western powers, gave up his weapons program, stopped funding, whatever terrorist groups he was funding, and to say like, hey, we're going to normalize relations with the world. How did Gaddafi end up? What did the Libyan solution ultimately look like? It was not continued normalization of relations. It was Hillary Clinton cackling on camera about we came, we saw, he died.
Right.
So a country like North Korea, and don't get me wrong, Kim Jong-un, I wouldn't want to live under that guy's regime. But, they're looking at that and saying like, hey, the Libyans came in and gave up their weapons program, and look what happened to Gaddafi. I don't want to go out like that. And so, he hears John Bolton make a comment like this, and he's like, good God, I don't know what the hell to expect from the Americans now.
Right.
So, yes, kind of like a more radical gesture to say, like, look, that Libya shit, that was Hillary Clinton, that was Obama, that's not the current administration. I think you do need to make a radical gesture probably to, assure people that, look, things are different this time. We're not going to do one thing and then 7-8 years later, whatever year it was that Gaddafi was overthrown, we're going to do something totally different. And I'm sure saying that, obviously makes me, blame America first and anti-American or something. But, when you're dealing with these regimes, you also have to kind of sit back and be like, okay, how do we look in their eyes?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big revelation from the Ron Paul revolution for me, was actually putting myself in the other people's shoes for once and thinking about why they do what they do. Yeah, for sure. And in this situation, I'm kind of doing the same thing. And like you're suggesting, they have very little reason to trust us based on the past relations and what the CIA has been doing in all these countries for years.
Yeah.
But to just go on ahead and declare an end to the war officially, to begin drawing down the troops that have been stationed there for 50 years, I mean, that would be a grand gesture, and it would cost us nothing. It would actually save us money.
But then the question, you get into the twists and turns of American domestic politics. Even if were Trump to even try to do that, would he be allowed to do that? I mean, ultimately, has he been allowed to pull troops out of Syria the way he's hinted? Not really.
Not really. Yeah.
I mean, you would have him portrayed as like he's following Russia's orders or something to pull troops out of Korea. No, that's not.
Of course.
One of the
course it is.
One of the most hilarious Rachel Maddow conspiracy kook moments was when, she appeared to have never known where North Korea was on the map, I guess, because she gets on MSNBC and is like breathlessly revealing that she has just learned that North Korea has a border with Russia, and therefore it all makes sense now.
Was this recently?
No, this was like, this is like a year and a half, 2 years ago. But,
okay.
Yeah,
well, I hear that she really went off.
The conspiracy, though, it's all part of it.
Oh man, I quit watching her. I mean, I never really did, but during the Ron Paul, I mean, give credit where credit's due. As I recall, Ron Paul won the Iowa caucus, but the credit was given to Rick Santorum.
Yeah.
And so for 6 months, everyone was going around believing that Rick Santorum won the Iowa caucus. And if I recall correctly in politics, in the GOP, it's the Iowa caucus that really sets the pace for the rest of the primaries in the GOP.
Yeah.
Like whoever are the front runners in the Iowa caucus will be the front runners. And they totally denied Ron Paul his victory until it was so far down the road that it was irrelevant that he had won. Yeah. And Rachel Maddow was the one that came out and reported that mistake had been made, and it was Ron Paul that won.
I used to like MSNBC, but they, along the way, they've just become partisan hacks and toxic conspiracy theorists to a level that puts Alex Jones and whoever you want to name, David Icke.
Yeah, dude, totally. Tinfoil hat wearing channel for sure, man. It's incredible.
But once upon a time, I mean, and maybe I should have known better. It probably was always partisan. But once upon a time, they were anti-war on MSNBC, against Bush. But yeah, and like you're saying, maybe even sympathetic to Ron Paul to some degree. But
eventually. Yeah, not at first, but eventually it seemed they came around to at least giving Ron Paul his due.
Yeah, kind of the same way, Fox gives Tulsi Gabbard her due. But she's getting a lot of crap for that now, too. Like, how dare she go on Fox News? That just tells us everything we need to know about her, that she would talk to these horrible people. And
oh, man. Right. Yeah, because she went on and let people ask her questions to give her publicity and mass viewing. That's so horrible.
Yeah.
Trump went on Alex Jones before the election. I
don't think he's gone on as president, but
it was. I think it was maybe at the very beginning of the primaries, like right after he announced or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he hasn't been back, but the fact that he went on that one time, of course, that was used quite a bit to point out how he must also be a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist himself.
Yeah.
Because if you go on a show, obviously you agree with everything.
100% of what the host said.
Everything. Yeah, 100%.
Really,
I mean,
clearly.
if you wouldn't be on the show, right?
Yeah.
So, Oh, man. Tulsi, though. I could get into some Tulsi now. Maybe I should reword that. I think.
Tulsi's great.
Yeah, she's great, man. She's great. I agree. But they're not giving her a chance, and it's very familiar to me. It's very familiar, I'm sure, to you too.
Yeah.
We've seen this all before.
Yeah.
And with Trump, not that he was any Ron Paul by any means, but just the fact that a non-politician was able to work the system in such a way to get in there was already, to me, kind of a miracle. Like, it's changed my mindset. I used to say about Trump, people asked it, I think he would win. It's like, well, yeah, he might win the vote, but I doubt he'll ever see the inside of the White House. because the powers that be will never let that happen.
Yeah,
You know?
but in the end, they did let it happen. But they've tried to whatever degree, like his good impulses have been genuine. They've obstructed those impulses the whole way along. So,
Yeah, it has. It doesn't seem like it's been a whole lot of cooperation going on. He's been able to get a few things done in spite of all of that. But
yeah,
not to not to support our president or anything. We wouldn't want to do that. But it is kind of rare that you hear anything positive said about the man in a public place.
Yeah.
So I thought I should at least point those things out. But I didn't, and I don't plan on voting again. After Ron Paul, I went full anarchist.
Yeah.
And but I have to admit, I laughed hilariously when he won.
I did, and I was delighted to see the sociopath that the other side nominated lose.
Yes.
But that just obviously completely pushed her over the edge into, the realm of conspiracies that make Alex Jones look, sane. I mean, Alex Jones, like, I've always in the back of my mind figured that, like, half of his shtick at least is just sheer entertainment. He's an entertainer. But the likes of Hillary Clinton, it's like, does she really believes this stuff psychologically? It seems like,
Yeah. I mean, I haven't heard anything from Alex Jones in quite some time. It seems
like
that
most people, I mean, he's been completely platformed. So
the internet ban seems to have worked. I mean,
so you really have to consciously seek him out, which, I mean, I haven't really done.
That's right. That's right. I have just a couple of times, like in all the years since 2016 or whenever that went down. Hey, Rosie, my cat. So, he actually had some really good coverage during the primaries, like leading up to the election. He had some good interviews. Like I said, he had Trump on. He had Roger Stone.
Yeah.
I mean, there was some really good coverage during those primaries. I never really listened to Alex Jones before that either. It was just basically during the primaries. And I guess that was the case with a lot of people because Hillary eventually went on stage and mentioned Alex Jones by name.
Yeah, by name.
So she must have been aware of how his presence was affecting people against her. Things like that. But man, it's tough for me to talk politics in a public forum. I haven't been able to find studio work in 3 years, which is strange. And it's not because I voted for Trump or anything, because I didn't, but because I was a Republican when I was supporting Ron Paul, perhaps.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know how easy it is to find those records, but
there's such a binary thought process out there. So it's like Ron Paul, he was a Republican too. All Republicans are the same. It's like NPC.
Yeah. That's and it could be that. I recall when I was starting that company with my friends all those years ago.
Yeah.
That my partner, it was even then. This is long before anything going on in modern politics. This was like 2005, 2006. And my partner would constantly. Now he knew that I was somewhat conservative and that I was from the South, and things like that. But I was I had a strong work ethic and a decent amount of talent, and things that could overcome their negative opinion of my political leanings.
Yeah,
that worked out for me okay for a time, and we started this company together. But when it came to hiring anyone, it was very important to my partners that we did not hire Republicans.
Really? That far back?
Even then. And they would ask questions during the interview that weren't, specifically like interview questions. It was more like in passing.
Yeah.
But the in passing questions were more important than the interview questions.
Right.
Because it was the in passing questions where they could determine whether this guy is someone they wanted to work with, or is he going to be in here talking about George Bush?
Yeah.
right? So it's rough in Hollywood for conservatives. I know that there's a few out here, James Wood and Clint Eastwood, and a few that have made it and things. And I don't even really consider myself a conservative anymore, which is the most ironic thing about the whole thing. You know, through
Yeah, but if you don't fit into this easily definable, like you're either for Trump or you're against Trump kind of dichotomy, then
right there's a very strong, if you're not with us, you're against us feeling in Hollywood right now. And basically, if you didn't vote for Hillary, you're against us. And it's like I try to talk to them about philosophy and explain the non-aggression principle and why I'm an anarchist.
yeah,
That's not good enough. It's like, you didn't vote for Hillary, you're the enemy.
yeah,
And yeah, so it's tough, man. It's one of the reasons why our channel has become somewhat of a ghost town. I did produce a few kind of anti-Hillary videos during the primary.
yeah,
I mean, like I said, I wasn't planning to vote, but I had to make a few anti-Hillary videos. I mean, it was just so easy.
yeah,
You know, the idea would pop in my head. All the resources I need to put it together right there at my fingertips. An hour later, I got a video edited together, you know, and it's just like I had to do it.
yeah,
But it was all anonymous, you know, and so forth. I mean, I don't think anyone ever put me with those videos,
yeah,
but just the fact that I supported Ron Paul and had to register as a Republican in order to vote for him back then.
oh yeah, I'm sure that's enough. I mean, we live in an age of a very, like, you know, it's a false dichotomy, but it's a very, like, strongly held one.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's not true, but I'm just running out of a whole lot of explanations as to why my phone quit ringing about the time Trump got elected.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, television industry has changed quite a bit, so a lot of it has to do with that as well. But anyway, I'm not making excuses. I'm out there driving for Uber. We're getting things paid for.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the meantime, the Uber thing is okay, you know. And with my Tesla, I don't have to pay for gasoline, so it makes it a little bit better.
Good, at least.
A little bit better, yeah. And then the people will jump in and say, "But yeah, you're paying for electricity." No, I'm not. Free supercharging, baby.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I do pay for a little bit of electricity, but mainly to top off, I'm doing most of my charging at the superchargers.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, well, man, you know, it's really awesome to actually get together and talk together one-on-one and with Justice a little bit earlier. But you know, we're pretty much talking every day on the chat, and so many good conversations coming up all the time. It just seems like it's obvious that we need to go live and have these conversations in real time from time to time.
And figure out the technical aspect of it, and get this going.
That's one thing. That's one thing I wanted to do before we leave. Maybe let's finish on this. I wanted to see if I could do a screen share.
Okay.
And let me pull up. I'm going to turn the volume down on that. Okay. Could you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me go back here to StreamYard, and I'm going to say share screen. Screen sharing is easiest with two monitors. Right. I don't have that right now. Use Chrome if you would like to share audio with yourself. To download Chrome for the next time. Okay. Screen sharing works best on a good computer. It's an okay computer. Okay. So share screen. Let's see. It says select the window or screen to share. Bang. Bang. Let's see. Do you see a YouTube video?
I do not. I still just see our avatars.
Okay, select.
Let me see if I click on share screen. Nope, I just got the pop-up that already says what you said.
Let me see if I click here. Allow. Okay.
Okay, so now I see, yeah,
It's showing
Phantom
some
MacBook
files.
Pro.
That's not good. Are you seeing a YouTube video now?
No, I'm
Or-
not. I'm seeing like whatever
okay.
files and things.
Personal files. Okay, stop screen share. Maybe I need to just drop this in a new window. Try that. Okay. And come back here. What I'm going to do is share this Rise of the Resistance POV ride through.
Okay.
And see if that'll work. Try one more time. Share screen, share screen. Bang. Yes.
Okay, here we go.
Now, can you hear it as well?
No, I still just hear you talking, but I...
Okay.
Yeah.
The sound effects are a huge part of it. Now, this part right here, this particular video kind of cuts out a lot of it. Here, let me, instead of getting another video, I'll just talk you through it. So this is the line queue right here. And when you first enter the ride building, you're entering into this spaceship right here, this transport.
Okay.
Now, this is a really cool part of it. When you get into the transport, and they don't show it in this video, but there's the Ray hologram, and she gives you the rundown and basically tells you don't share the location of the resistance base. That's the most important thing. Just don't give up. Don't spill the beans. They're going to try to get it from you. Don't spill the beans. Yeah, and that's the most important thing. But here's the thing. While you're in the transport, you're looking through the windows of the transport and you're seeing Galaxy's Edge. Basically what you're seeing right here on the outside of the building, you're seeing it from the inside of the ship as well. And so when the ship takes off, it starts to move kind of like in Star Tours or the Smuggler's Run kind of thing. It's one of these simulations. And you see the transport take off from Galaxy's Edge and head into space. But then you get caught into a tractor beam of a Star Destroyer, which brings you on board. And here's the cool part. The same doors you came in through, which is what we're looking at right here, these people going in through that door, is the same doors that open, and you are inside of a Star Destroyer.
Oh, I see. So, oh, cool.
Yes, and in every video, you can hear the people gasp when it happens.
Yeah.
They're totally not expecting it. Like they thought it would be another door that opens and they're going to enter into the show, but no, it's this exact same door you came in
just
through.
Walked in.
Yeah, and you're inside the Star Destroyer now. And that's the scene that you may have caught glimpses of online where there's like 50 First Order stormtroopers lined up and there's a TIE fighter on the wall, and then you see the giant kind of force field entrance of the Star Destroyer that supposedly you just came in through. And in the background, you can see TIE fighters flying by and you hear the sound effects and so forth. None of that's in this video. That was all, listen, yeah, I think they may have skipped over all of that. What happens is after that, the people are, and the cast members are dressed like First Order people, you know, commanders and so forth, and they're talking with you in that kind of way, doing the whole role play thing. And so the people get filtered through the Star Destroyer loading bay or whatever it's called, through another little corridor into kind of a holding cell where you're under these bars, and there's a stormtrooper there, and then Hux walks in and dismisses the stormtrooper, and the stormtrooper goes away, and then Hux says, you know, basically, you have something that we need, and then Kylo Ren walks in and says, and I will take it, and he like does the force, and like all the lights go out, and the thing is it looks like they're really there. It is a video screen, but what they're doing is there's like shadows being projected from a light that's behind them.
Okay.
So real shadows are moving.
Like, it's not really virtual reality, but it feels more like that.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they're really in the room with you,
Yeah.
because there's like real shadows and stuff being projected from them. And I had
Yeah.
never seen that before. That's something new. And so yeah, Kylo does the Force on everybody, and basically he gets interrupted, and it's like, "I'll be back." You just wait right here. You have no place you can go, and literally there are no exits. Like once that door you came in through
There are
gets
no
shut.
windows and no doors.
Exactly. Yeah. This is technically a dark ride, like the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
So what happens is you're standing there, and there's just all the sounds, the buzzing of the Star Wars sounds and stuff going on, and then you start hearing something cutting. And you look over at a wall to the side, and there's like laser burn marks traveling down the wall,
Mm.
and then suddenly the wall comes off and slides aside. And this is where the video picks up right here.
Okay.
Right there. This is like they just laser cut through the wall, and this is it's a hidden door, but it looks
Okay.
like the resistance just breaking you out. They're like, come on, quick, hurry! And now this is where the ride literally begins.
Okay, so this is where you're gonna actually sit down and stuff now. Yeah.
You've already done so much. Like I said, the entire ride queue is the ride. Like you're in the experience, the moment, and this is the part that's more of a traditional ride, where you're in a vehicle.
Now we're looking more like Star Tours or something at this point.
They give you, Finn gives you a quick rundown. Basically, pretend like you're a prisoner being transported to another section of the ship.
Yeah.
Now, these are the trackless ride vehicles, notice.
Okay.
So it's like they're being autonomously driven by the droid, the R5 droid. But really, it's the new trackless ride system.
Interesting, yeah.
Now, they do have a trackless ride system in Cars Land with the Maters. The Mater ride, I believe, is a trackless car, but it's not going through corridors and so forth.
It's just like spinning you around like the small kind of like little lot there.
Right, and because it's trackless, it can do different dance patterns. It's not the same ride every time.
Yeah.
And, that's the same kind of idea with this too. Like you notice there's 4 different ride vehicles. So depending on which vehicle you get in, it's going to be a little bit of a different experience for you. So like at this point, they're coming in, seeing the life-size AT-ATs.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
As us kids from the 70s like to call them, the AT-ATs. And all the stormtroopers are firing on them. And probably the cheesiest part of it, which is probably way more impressive when you're there in person, are these laser effects. They just look like projections. But this laser effect right here that's about to happen is the coolest laser effect in it. The AT-AT gun starts to come down. Watch this.
Oh, now it's shooting at you.
Yeah, that was pretty. And it left these holes in the wall.
Yeah.
Right. And so now they're kind of like sneaking into that standard lower kind of orchestra pit area in the command room of these Star Destroyers. So you're hearing a little bit of dialogue between Kylo and Hux.
I see the battle going on above you there.
And then Kylo notices that the prisoners are trying to make an escape, and he says, "There's nowhere to run."
Yeah.
And so they take off, and now Kylo is basically going to be in pursuit.
Yeah, there he is.
Throughout, coming after. So now they finally made it to the turbo lift. They're going down, and then all of a sudden you hear clunk on the roof. Kylo jumping down.
Kylo cutting through.
Yeah. That is a sweet effect. I don't know how they're doing that. Yeah, and then you're in the gunner room trying to get past the guns in video game style. Now look at the depth in the video monitors as the car rides by. It doesn't look 2D. It looks 3D. Just like in the Guardians of the Galaxy projections.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the ship gets hit a couple of times. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
The laser spark effects. I really hope they improve the laser blasters at some point. And then there's a Kylo animatronic. He's like, "You will tell me the location of the rebel base." Ah! But then a hole gets blown in the ship, and a shield comes down blocking him. And of course, if you could hear it, it'd be way better, because the sound effects are like 50% of the show. So yeah, they finally found their way. Now watch this. Watch what happens here. I can't wait to experience this. You see these ships across dropping, and then you drop. And it's a bit of a Tower of Terror experience.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Where the ship you're in actually drops. Like you feel it drop. You lose your stomach, and now you're dropping kind of the whole time, and it's shaking.
Oh.
You're re-entering Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah.
You're crash landing. Oh, and another thing it didn't show earlier is that you go into the ride and then back out of it again to the outdoors, where you see a part of Galaxy's Edge that no one's ever seen before, and they get a lot of oohs and ahs during that part of it too. But it happens again right here, where the ride
when you exit.
Yeah, the ride vehicle comes out, and one thing that I noticed that's super cool during the day. When you're coming back to Galaxy's Edge, the video is a daytime video, and now this is a night. This is nighttime, okay. And when they were coming back, watch the video again. Oh, if I can find it. Yeah, right here where they're coming into Galaxy's Edge. It's a nighttime video. I was wondering about that because every one that I had seen, it was during the daytime, and I was like, I hope they change that when it's night, because what happens is you come out of the ride vehicle and it's nighttime, so it'd be weird if it was day when you're in the vehicle and then it's night when you're out. And I wonder if there's even a transition scene for like sunset. You know, like maybe a third option as the sun's going down. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, be cool.
So yeah, that's the end of the ride. Like it brings you outside and you're back like in Galaxy's Edge in the physical, and it feels like, and it really is an experience more than any other ride so far. It makes you feel like you've left the planet and gone into space and been a part of Star Wars and have come back in one piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't wait to experience that with you in February.
Yeah. We need to, kind of like figure out what would be a good date to do this. So February 5th is the official opening in California?
I believe so. It's in February for sure.
All right.
And they held to this December 5th opening in Florida, even though technically they may not have been ready to open.
Yeah.
There were quite a few hiccups on that first day that some of the Fandom Menace people were reporting on as though that was like a huge issue, you know. And I was thinking, my God, that's not a huge issue. I mean, that's expected, isn't it?
Yeah. And the good thing about February is like, it's one of the, if there's ever really an off season at the parks anymore, traditionally that's been kind of one of the off season months. You get in, it's, sometimes a little less crowded.
Well, if they're able to bring the crowds back in February, I guess our chances of ever seeing an Aladdin land will be greatly diminished.
Yeah. Well, if there's never an Aladdin land, I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I would like Galaxy's Edge to succeed.
I would too. I mean, there was a time when I was really happy to see that it wasn't succeeding. But
the Mandalorian has started to warm your heart towards Star Wars again.
Yeah, I can't say it brought me back fully, but I'm directionally coming back out of the darkness. And but some of my Fandom Menace colleagues seem as though there's nothing at this point Disney will be able to do to ever bring them back from the darkness.
Yeah.
Like, they have totally gone to the dark side, and shitting on Star Wars is now the bread and butter, and nothing's going to change no matter what they do.
Yeah.
I still believe Episode 9 is probably a dumpster fire, just like it seems like it's going to be, but I cannot take away from what they're doing with this ride and with The Mandalorian. This is competent Star Wars. We got to go back to the other banner. This is competent Star Wars. It may not be the best Star Wars in your opinion, or but it's competent. This is what I expected when.
Like it's not the dumpster fire.
This is what they should have done
from Mandalorian and see dumpster fire.
No, there's nothing that says dumpster fire anywhere in that show. And sure, criticize this and that, aspect, but that's the way it always has been among fandom in Star Wars. Of
Yeah.
course, we're going to criticize, but
I mean, people criticized the Ewoks in, when Return of the Jedi originally came out. If you go back and like look at that, and
Yeah.
Rothbard, since we're both, I guess still ANCAP, so
yes,
Rothbard famously panned the very first Star Wars movie when it came out in 1977. There's just a hilarious Rothbard review of Star Wars that you can find where he just trashes it and it's just like these cardboard characters and so predictable and what is this crap?
Oh man.
his rant. I'll have to pull that up again.
Yeah, I did take a look at it, but yeah, we should totally pull that up on a future live stream and go through that. You know, that would be hilarious. But I think a lot of adults had that sort of opinion of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Like my uncles, I asked them about Star Wars. My uncle says, "Yeah, me and your other uncle, we were in there watching that Star Wars, and I looked at him and said, 'You want to get out of there?' And he said, 'Let's go.' And we walked out."
So then, are we just like the old guys now then who are criticizing the new thing? On the other hand, maybe, I don't really think so because it's not like this is catching on, it seems like, with kids nowadays with the Zoomers. The way Star Wars did with Gen X and, older millennials.
I would say maybe, but yeah, that's the exact point I was going to make, is that it doesn't seem to be catching on with the kids like it did. I mean, just look at any of the old footage of Star Wars, of any of the movies on opening day. People waiting out, there's huge lines all night long. Some people waiting for an entire week to be the first in the theater to see it for the very first time. Do you think there's going to be anyone on planet Earth waiting in line for Episode 9?
I cannot imagine that.
More than an hour or so.
No.
It's not going to happen. There's not going to be.
But is that just the movie industry and the entertainment industry nowadays in general, though? I mean, does anybody really wait in line for movies like that?
Well, they didn't have to do that
for Marvel.
They didn't have to do it for the for the Force Awakens, but they did. Just out of tradition,
Okay.
There was no reason to do that, but people did it anyway, just out of tradition. But after that, there was really no reason to anymore.
Yeah.
Because people actually saw that movie and walked away going, for a lot of us, like I admit, I was satisfied. It's like, okay, Star Wars is back. And at least we have a lot to look forward to. They set up this big cliffhanger ending with Luke Skywalker, so I'm really excited to see what happens with him. Yeah, they killed off Han Solo. That sucks.
Off the cliff.
Yeah, so imagine my reaction when we finally got around to getting the rest of the story. I mean, it's like I waited 40 years for this, which, by the way, you probably didn't see it, but there was an interview with the Episode 9 cast last week by Collider, Tiffany Smith interviewing the cast and J.J. Abrams. And at the end of the interview, she does something that, I mean, come on. Why did she do this? Because she's supposed to be a shill. But she says, without saying anything, they probably told her ahead of time, do not ask them directly to say anything about their reaction to the movie. And so at the end, she's like, without saying a word, just facial expressions, what was your reaction to the end of Episode 9? Go. And the camera caught all these people's faces, just so awkward.
Oh,
so awkward. And Anthony Daniels, the one that plays C-3PO, he has his shoulders shrugging and his hands out going, what the fuck, and then just mouthing it, and then you hear the words come out of his mouth, we waited 40 years for this.
Oh wow, that's not a good sign then.
It's not a good sign. But that was kind of how I felt when I saw The Last Jedi. But hey, they still have this one final chance to redeem themselves.
Yeah.
Well, brother, I guess guess with that we should end the broadcast.
Yeah.
And it's really, really great to talk with you about all these things. There's so much more, but we're gonna save it for next time. Get Justice back in here.
Justice in it, and I will, I
You
don't
know
know
what he?
how much we need the Yeti for this, but I
Well,
should
it'd be good. Try
get
it.
that unpacked and
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
what it sounds like. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm just using a condenser mic. It shouldn't be as high quality as the Yeti. So I'm curious to find out what the difference will be between my mic and that mic, and do I need to
Yeah.
upgrade? I think I probably do need to eventually upgrade, but for now this will be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you have to use your laptop mic, that'll be fine. That's what this is, right? Just your laptop
Yeah. This
mic.
is just 100% my laptop right now.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds
Yeah.
good. That sounds good. Well, brother,
Okay.
with all that, I guess we want to sign off with something libertarian since we're the Free Hollywood channel.
Yeah.
And just want to remind everyone out there, taxation is theft.
And Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yes. And Solo lost money.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Well, I'll sign off. I'll see you in the other chat, my brother.
Cool. All
Take
right.
care. All right, everybody. Good night, everybody
Good
that's listening. Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.